We are live discussing property division in divorce, one of the most commonly tested topics on the MEE. Our default type of distribution is equitable distribution, fair and equitable, according to the needs and the contributions of each spouse. The only exclusions are by premarital agreement, gifts, and inheritance. So inheritances are not marital property. Gifts from, say, your parents or grandparents, not marital property. Anything you pre-contracted, not marital property. Otherwise, equitable distribution. Equitable distribution, what are our exceptions? Yes, inheritance. That's right, gifts. And anything you contracted away in your prenup. Okay, community property states are a minority where we have that 50-50 split. Okay, so our step one is to determine what state we're in. Most of the time, that's going to be common law. Okay, step two, we're going to categorize each piece of property as separate or marital. Separate or marital. Separate property is going to be property acquired before marriage. Marital property is going to be property acquired during the marriage. If it's commingled, we're going to declare it marital. If it's mingled, we're going to say it's marital. Non-marital, separate property goes to the separate spouse. Marital property is property of the marriage and will be divided how? Equitably. If it's commingled, we're going to consider it marital. Unless, this is our only exception, we can trace it to a non-marital source, but don't worry about that too much. Okay, so we're just going to categorize it as separate, marital, or if it's commingled, we're going to say it's marital. Okay, we're going to value the property based on the cutoff date. That's the date of the divorce decree. At the date of the divorce decree, what is the value of that property? Okay, so let's say we have a portfolio of stocks. Was it acquired before marriage? Okay, the appreciation is going to go to the separate spouse. That's separate property. But if marital funds were used to acquire those stocks, we're going to divide it equitably. One other thing is we want to look at valuing a business. Okay, so if you value a business, if we're talking about marital property, the easy stuff you can sell to someone is called enterprise goodwill, whereas personal goodwill is the reputation of the owner. And again, if this is a business that one spouse operated completely separately and on their own, we're going to look at, there's going to be other factors in the fact pattern. Maybe they deposited money in joint accounts. The second you deposit money in a joint account, it's marital property. Okay, does a spouse have an interest in the other spouse's pensions and retirement? Yes. Do they have an interest in tort compensation? Yes. Awards for past pain and suffering are separate property. Future pain and suffering are marital. Okay, excuse me, I got that wrong. Past pain and suffering or lost wages are marital. Future is separate. Past, marital, future, non-marital. Okay, how are we going to divide that property? That's right, equitably. How are we going to categorize the property? Marital, separate. If it's mingled, it's marital. How do we value the property based on what date? The date of the divorce decree, known as the cutoff date. If it's acquired before the marriage, it's going to be separate property. After the marriage, we're going to divide it equitably. And if somebody got a lottery winning, for example, and they acquired it during the marriage, do you think that's going to be marital property? Yes. Do you think that a pension is going to be divisible as marital property? Yes. How about tort compensation, civil suits, in any type of settlement? If it is for past pain and suffering, it's marital. If it's for future needs, it's separate. Okay, now we're going to divide the property. So number one, we're going to look at what's an equitable division. Number two, we're going to categorize the property. Number three, we're going to value the property based on the cutoff date. And finally, we're going to divide the property. Here's where it gets kind of fun. All non-marital separate property just goes to that individual spouse. In an equitable distribution state, our source of law is the UMDA. And we're going to look at number one, premarital agreement. Did we agree on this beforehand? Then the premarital agreement will control. Other than that, we're going to look at the UMDA factors: age, health, station, occupation, income, skills, employability of the spouse, the needs of the parties, the duration of the marriage, prior marriage and child support and spousal support awards, and how the parties contributed to the marriage. And it's presumed that a homemaker contributed to the marriage. All right, let's talk those UMDA equitable distribution factors again. Spit it out: age, health, occupation, income, skills, employability, relative needs of the parties, the duration of the marriage, responsibilities from prior marriages, and the contribution of each party to the marriage. Okay, how are we going to divide appreciation? If it's passive appreciation, we're just going to divide it equitably. If it's active appreciation, say both parties worked in a business, then we're going to split the appreciation. Okay, and remember, what never gets divided? Inheritance, gifts, and anything you pre-contracted. And ladies and gentlemen, that is property division in less than 8 minutes.